quite fancy being like a superhero?
Oh, yeah. I don't know. What kind of superhero would I want to play? Maybe Spider-Man in like 10 years' time.
Get ready for the reboot of the reboot?
The reboot of the reboot, if they made one. I don't know.
Fancy.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I learned about superheroes before I learned about a lot of things in life. I mean, they were everywhere. Walmart, card aisles, DVDs in the retail section at Best Buy, toys and figurines at Kohl's that my parents would never let me get because we were literally only there to buy me a pair of new jeans and maybe some Z-strap Skechers. I never listened though. I just kept asking. October 11th, 2010. One of the first books I ever read as a kid was Ultimate Comics Volume 6. It was the stuff with Venom and the symbiote suit. I still remember opening that first page and there he was, just staring at me. Peter Parker, sitting on the floor of his basement, lamenting about his troubles, chilling to the hum of the earth. I had no idea who this guy was. I didn't stop reading though, page after page, slowly learning more about this boy who kept exploring the world, looking for answers behind the father he lost, working his damnedest to mend the relationships he made with those around him, saving people everywhere he can. A superhero that the world called Spider-Man. But it was funny to me how it wasn't just a story about this guy who saved people. In just a small graphic novel that weighed about 11 ounces with 168 pages, I learned more about Peter Parker than I ever could have imagined the mysterious Spider-Man to be. And funny enough, I loved all of it. I never got to read a lot of comics as a kid, but that first one always stuck with me. My original definitive Peter Parker. The Spider-Man who never stopped trying. February 18th, 2011. A Friday. I was never really into the Taza movies or the Raimi movies when they were coming out. I only saw snippets and pieces of Spider-Man 3 on the Stars channel every so often, but all I knew about these movies was that the Goblin was kinda scary, Venom was a little weird, and that one guy cried way too much. With the TASM films, I saw the promotional stuff and I thought it was cool, but I think I was too busy rewatching Justice League The Flashpoint Paradox on repeat to ever pay attention to anything else. I wish I had that nostalgic tie to those films like everyone else, but I just don't think I really did. But there was one thing I held at the highest level of discretion. May 5th, 2012, a Saturday. From that first experience of watching the Avengers in the theater, I was forever hooked on this franchise, no matter how better or worse it got. I was that kind of guy who read spoilers for Age of Ultron on Wikipedia, and then watched it in the theater, and then just came back home to binge watch way too many NerdSync videos until 2 a.m. in an attempt to understand who these characters truly were. Hey Scott, if you're watching this, thank you. Also, my Spanish grade dropped because of this, so if it's alright, I'm just gonna go ahead and blame you for all of that. Regardless, I was the ultimate MCU fanboy, and I sat there in anticipation for what came next. February 9th, 2015, a Monday. I still remember seeing that Screen Rant article, reading it in disbelief. A Spider-Man, a hero I never loved enough, finally came home to the one place I wanted him the most. I spent hours going through social media feeds, trying to understand how something this amazing could even happen. I still remember going to sleep that day, happy as a freshly born butterfly, ready to see this adolescent superhero take his stand in the MCU. But I wasn't shaken to my core, not just yet. March 10th, 2016, a Thursday. No school for some reason, so I just sat on my bed and I went to youtube.com, and the first thing I see is Marvel's Captain America Civil War Trailer 2. I heard rumors on the interwebs, but I wasn't really sure. But 2.5 minutes later, I was a changed man. There he is, after what felt like so long, the web-slinger himself, staring at me through the screen. In a comic-accurate suit, shield in hand, mechanical lenses squinting, addressing the entire world.
Hey everyone.
From that moment, I loved Captain America Civil War. This film struck the biggest chord any MCU movie had for me in a long time, addressing the mature themes of responsibility and oversight while also taking this 54-year-old character and bringing him back down to my level. A kid in school, aspiring to be more in this world full of potential. Maybe it's just part of growing up, but Civil War was that movie that really allowed me to understand what can be done in the film medium and how we can use it to show the world around us. July 8th, 2017, a Sunday. In the midst of the build-up to Infinity War, the greatest amalgamation of the MCU, this small movie forged in the workshop of two warring studios provided me with my favorite showcase of Peter Parker and what he means to me. A story about standing your ground, Spider-Man Homecoming is a movie about the power of sticking up for the little guy, and in doing so, has become my favorite solo entry in the entire MCU. You already know how I feel about this movie. Hell, you already know how I feel about Infinity War. You even know how I feel about Far From... You know, I shouldn't talk about it in a love letter, but I guess I'm going to anyway. July 6th, 2019, a Saturday. There was a good period of time in my life that summer that I felt kind of in denial about this movie. For the first time, I came out of a Spider-Man movie thinking to myself, I didn't love that. How could I not love this movie? Mysterio, S.H.I.E.L.D., a gorgeous new suit, and an epilogue to Endgame, and the amazing spectacle of Spider-Man on the big screen. How can I, a kid who read and reread issues of Ultimate Spider-Man, really honestly say to myself that I didn't love a fucking Spider-Man movie? But it's in that realization that the world around me calms down to a lull. Sitting on my bedroom floor, lamenting about my opinions, chilling to the hum of the earth. These are my opinions of a singular movie. A movie that will get sequels, reboots, prequels, and so many iterations that will keep the franchise going forever. I can keep complaining and troubling myself all day, but in the end, it's still going to be okay. Because it's just an opinion about a movie, and I can always just watch another movie. And that's exactly what I did. La La Land, Inception, Man from U.N.C.L.E., Mission Impossible, The Big Short, Spectacular Now, Whiplash, leaving the MCU bubble for a bit to explore these movies filled with soul and drama allowed me to discover the true purpose of filmmaking, to put the purest form of heart on the table for this ever-evolving world to enjoy, with the hope of leaving that world with more than you entered it with. It never mattered if I specifically enjoyed that movie, but just that someone liked this movie enough to leave an impact on them, so the legacy of these characters can continue on to the next generation. I have already received that feeling from Homecoming, so this was now an opportunity for other fans to get theirs. I don't know if I'll ever really love it, but Far From Home taught me to reassess the way I approach this kind of media, showing me that I don't need to love every aspect of a Spider-Man movie to say I love Spider-Man. I can keep criticizing these films while looking forward to each new iteration, but I just have to latch onto the one thing that keeps me going to be able to enjoy these movies. December 16th, 2021, a Thursday. With the multiversal scope, the almost artificial nostalgia rush of the previous movies, and the overly massive stakes of the storyline, what's that one thing left through thick and thin that keeps me coming back to this character? What makes me write a love letter to the MCU's Spider-Man? Well, it's kind of been staring me in the face this entire time. Tom Holland was bullied in middle school for dancing. It wasn't the cool kid thing to do, and he suffered the consequences, but he never let that stop him. He stuck with it, and he never let that spirit go. Billy Elliot, to the impossible, to In the Heart of the Sea, to finally the web-slinger himself, this kid grew from barely anything into the face of the MCU, all as a simple teenager. I think my inner arrogance sees itself in that kid, facing all the dangers in front of him and choosing to push on. I'm turning 20 soon, and I'd like to think I've lived my life at least in a similar spirit, focusing on that one thing you want, doing everything in your power to manifest that destiny. Now 25, Tom Holland has gone on to accomplish insane highs. 3 Avengers movies, 3 solo movies, a series of animated works, a select group of brilliant and unique performances, and a life so public that literally the entire world is watching his every move. all in 5 years. This kid who went to carpentry school, set his sights on the prize, and in accomplishing it has probably sacrificed so much to this ever-rolling cog of Hollywood. It's a feeling of pressure I wouldn't wish upon anyone. The living nightmare of publicity. But you can't deny that this guy has done everything he can to take it in stride. To him, it's not just a job, it's a responsibility.
I love this character more than anything. This character has changed my life. I have a relationship with my fans that is so wonderful. I couldn't ask for it to be any better. But I want to do what's best for the character. If it's time for me to step down and the next person to step up, I'll do so proudly. You know, I'd love to see a more diverse Spider-Man universe, which would be really exciting. If I could be a part of that, if I could be the Iron Man to the next young Spider-Man or Spider-Woman, that'd be great. But at the moment, all I have to think about is the character and what's best for Peter Parker.
I don't know what the future of this franchise holds, but I am so thankful that this series of movies has introduced me to Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Tom is my Toby. Tom is my Andrew. I love Tom because he is the Spider-Man that formed my young adulthood. And no matter what happens, I will never let go of that feeling. So thank you, Tom, for creating a version of Spider-Man I will cherish for the rest of my days to show to my kids. Thank you for showing me the power of a youthful, hopeful, and heroic Peter Parker. Thank you for influencing the next generation of superhero fans. And finally, thank you for letting me love your Spider-Man.